Statistically, who is the best Formula 1 driver ever? So, I found this really cool website called StatsF1.com. I'll leave a link in the description to it because they've got a really cool section on their website which shows the statistics of Formula 1 over the years since the very start. Now, all of these statistics are there from the most recent Formula 1 races, so I wanted to look at them and decipher through statistics who is the best Formula 1 driver ever. So there's various different versions of these statistics. That could be world championships, pole positions, wins. We're going to look through all of them and we'll see what the statistics say and whether we think they are correct in terms of deciphering who is actually the best driver of all time. So let's start off by looking at world championships. So you probably know the top 5 in this. So Michael Schumacher, 7 world titles, won the 94 and 95 seasons, then 2000 to 2004 dominated with Ferrari. He has 7. Juan Manuel Fangio is second with 5 titles in the 50s. Hamilton's had 5 titles as well now. Alain Prost, 4 titles in an ultra-competitive era of Formula 1. And Sebastian Vettel, his dominance in Formula 1 with Red Bull from 2010 to 2013. So, looking at those, it's, I guess, in a way, the best statistic to show who's the best driver of all time because they've won the most titles, but also not a completely fair one because, let's be perfectly honest, you need to be in a great car to be in even just the chance of winning a world championship. So, in my opinion, just looking at how many championships someone has doesn't really tell you how good of a driver they were. I think it's more maybe down to win percentage, or maybe down to something like pole percentage, because pole percentage could kind of show the speed was there, but unfortunately the reliability of certain eras didn't enable us to have great performances throughout the whole race from certain drivers. So let's go to my next statistic, which is race victories. So Michael Schumacher has 91 race victories, and that's a percentage of just under 30% of his total races were victories. Lewis Hamilton, second place on that list with 73 victories, with nearly 32% of his overall races being victories. So that's pretty impressive. But then you look down to the list, Alberto Ascari, 22nd place in that list there, has a win ratio of 40.63%. That's one of the best ratios of all time, and the best ratio of all time is actually 50% from a driver called Lee Wallard. He competed in 2 races and won one of them. Fangio's also got a pretty incredible record as well. He unfortunately didn't do as many races, but you can see his win percentage is 47.06%, and that is the second best in Formula 1 history and the most of anyone that's done more than 2 or 3 races. So that's probably one of the more realistic ones you can look at and say that really defines how good you are as a driver. And I think win percentage is kind of as important because unfortunately some people manage to get loads of victories over many years, but Fangio did it in less than 10 years. He managed to get all of those victories in a not very short space of time, but a shorter space of time than many of the drivers on this list. Other notable ones on that list, Jim Clark, he had 34%. Jackie Stewart, 27%. Pretty impressive as well. And even Sterling Moss, 24%. He's probably the best driver to never win a championship, you can see on that list. And David Coulthard's also on that list as well, but he only had a win ratio of just over 5%. So let me know, in my opinion, that's probably one of the better statistics to show who the best driver of all time is. But Michael Schumacher still tops that list, and that's the second one I've shown you in this video. Okay, let's throw another statistic at you right now. So, pole position by numbers. Now, Lewis Hamilton last year overtook Schumacher for the most amount of pole positions in Formula 1 history, and he's further extended that gap, of course. He's on 83 pole positions now. Michael Schumacher's second on 68. Lewis Hamilton's pole percentage is pretty incredible, 36.24%. Ayrton Senna, out of the top 3, is the only one to match that at 40.3%. But Jim Clark then once again has 45%. That's nearly 50%, which is quite incredible. And then someone has over 50% is Juan Manuel Fangio once again. You know, certain people keep popping up on this list. Vettel's in there as well, Raikkonen's in that list as well, so you can see 3 of the drivers we still have in Formula 1 today are in that top 20. And other impressive drivers on that list, you can see Sterling Moss once again, nearly 25% on that list. And, you know, people like Mansell up there, Prost, And obviously Jim Clark in there with a 45.83, a very impressive one once again, only just really behind Fangio in that list. Alberto Ascari down there in 21st position, 43.75. And you can see in certain eras of the sport, certain people did really dominate. But unfortunately, especially back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, there are a lot more tragedies in Formula 1, which meant that a lot of people unfortunately lost their life way before they, reached their peak in Formula 1. Meaning some of these statistics aren't really that great. I mean, we look at someone that's probably just outside of the screenshot I've put on your list, but Jochen Rindt, he had the pole position percentage record of 16.67%, which, okay, might not be amazing, but that's still a pretty incredible amount of ones for Jochen Rindt, who had his career drastically cut short, and he had 10 pole positions in his time in Formula 1. If he had even 5 more, he'd be there just outside the top 20. So that shows how impressive Jochen Rindt could have been if he hadn't had that really sad accident where he lost his life. But a really interesting one there. Best pole percentage of all time is Manuel Fangio, 56.86. But a driver called Duke Nolan had one pole position, and that was 33.3% of his total starts. He had a pole position, so pretty incredible stuff. But I think a lot of these actually came from the Indy 500, which was sort of a non-championship F1 race, so that's where a lot of these sort of random ones came from, was those Indy 500 results. This is really, really interesting. Statistics, a lot of people's eyes don't lie, but then the thing is, with Formula 1, there's so many variables outside just how good a driver is to decipher how good someone is, excluding the car, the team they're in, all of the other factors, who their teammate was, all that sort of stuff really adds up, and it's something that statistics don't really, unfortunately, prove in Formula 1, because of course Formula 1 isn't a category where every single car is the same. Now let's go on to fastest laps now, and there's a pretty convincing leader in this one, and that is Michael Schumacher, 77 fastest laps. Surprisingly, Kimi Räikkönen is in second place here with 46. Prost, Hamilton, Vettel, they're your top 5. Mansell also having an impressive amount of fast laps. Tracking back there. Mika Häkkinen, 8th place on that list as well. Fangio once again in your top 10, and so many impressive people on that list there. Even Daniel Ricciardo's got 13, and he's had a relatively short career in comparison to the majority of the people on this list, and especially in a car that hasn't really been dominant. That's really good to see that Ricciardo's made his way onto this list, but I feel like a lot of those may be down to being on the right tyre at the right time, but that's part of Formula 1 and getting these sort of records. But fastest laps are a little bit less valid than a lot of the ones that we've talked about already, because I think, I remember correctly, was it 2013 Spain? I think it was 2013 Spain. I think Gutierrez whacked on some new tyres right at the end of the race and set a not pole position, a fastest lap, and obviously that got him a record in Formula 1. He's got a pole position, but Gutierrez wasn't the quickest driver on the day. He just sort of manipulated the system in a way to get the fastest lap. So fastest lap generally not quite as valid as the other ones on this list, because they can be easily changed. You can get pole position. So why do I keep saying pole position? You can get fastest laps a little bit easier than you can get pole positions, because pole positions and wins you need raw pace. Fastest lap you just need to be on the right tyre at the right time. If you put the softest compounded tyre on right at the end of the race, I reckon you could be a Toro Rosso or maybe a Force India and get a fastest lap. That's just the way modern Formula 1 is, at least. Maybe it wasn't like that back in the day, but it definitely is like that in modern day Formula 1, unfortunately, and that's where Bottas, a lot of the times, that's where he's been getting his fastest laps, is through having a bit of a miserable race, pitting and going to set a fastest lap of the race. So let me know what you think. I personally don't think Formula 1's fastest laps are as valid. So yeah, let's go on to the last 2 or 3 I've got on this list here. Points, this is a completely invalid one, but I think I should talk about it nonetheless, because obviously the point system has changed over time, so this makes this list completely irrelevant, because you've got people in the top 20 like Sergio Perez, Bottas and Ricciardo. I mean, Verstappen, even, he hasn't really had a very long career as well. These are sort of completely irrelevant stats in a way, because people like Michael Schumacher, if this list was updated to using the modern day point system, or everything was converted to an old point system, Schumacher would be leading this list most likely, and Hamilton would probably still be right up there, but Michael Schumacher probably would be leading this list and wouldn't be behind Nico Rosberg. So I think I'm just going to scrap this one, because it's not really worth talking about, because it's so validated, because the point system has changed over time. I think it started off being like 9-6-5, then went to like 10-6-5, then what, 10, 8, 6, and then obviously 25, 18. So this is completely irrelevant, really, in a way. The drivers that recently joined Formula 1, I mean, Max Verstappen's only been in F1 for a couple of years and he's already 13th on this list, so that's not really a relevant stat. Let me know in the comment section down below, who's the worst ever driver to secure a fastest lap in Formula 1? That might be an interesting comment for me to hear. And unfortunately here we have a massive mess up in the gameplay. I don't know what happened, but unfortunately the screen just went black. It's super convenient. I just don't know really what happened, but I apologise for that. And let's jump back into this conversation. So let's look at podiums, a bit more of a realistic one to look at here, and probably could decipher who is the best driver all the time, like consistency. Schumacher has had 155 podiums, and that's over 50% of his races on the podium. Hamilton's got an even better percentage of getting on the podium, nearly 58% of his 134 podiums, and I think Hamilton is one of the top ones as well, actually. I mean, of course, you've got a couple of people that randomly got one podium in their one race. But you know, once you take out those, you know, your top people on the list are Fangio, Farina, Hamilton, Prost, Ascari, Vettel, Schumacher. But then you think a lot of those were in a good car for the majority of their career. So it's kind of hard. And we know this about statistics in Formula 1. There could be a driver that's right at the back of the grid, but the best driver of all time, but because of the equipment he's got, he's never going to be able to prove that to anyone. So that's an unfortunate thing about Formula 1 and its statistics. So the last one I want to get onto is the average position on the grid. Quite an interesting one here. Fangio leads this one. He's got by far the best average position on the grid there, 1.78. So I think that's over half the times he started a race on the front row, on the pole position on the grid, which is incredible. But of course, back in the day, as we like to say, a little bit, I think I'd say less cars on the grid, less competitive cars on the grid, and I think it makes it a lot easier in a way to get an average position that high. Could be completely wrong, but then I think that's sort of kind of backed up by Farina, and then looking down this list as well, people I haven't particularly heard of that much. Jack McGrath, Marie Rose. I mean, yeah, I think this could be kind of exploited if you did maybe one race and you were like 4th place, 3rd place on the grid, or you did like 3 races and you were in like top 5 all the time. It could kind of be exploited a little bit, a bit more, I'd say, this one. But yeah, so, but you know, the general names are up there once again. Senna, Clark, Ascari, Hamilton, Prost. Vettel surprisingly low, to be fair. He's down in 16th place on this grid, but then he did have half a year at a Toro Rosso team and then had a bit of an uncompetitive year in Red Bull in 2014, and then other issues at Ferrari. So it's kind of understandable maybe he's a bit further down. Raikkonen, 28th down there, 6.41, but then qualifying was never really his thing. But yeah, Kubica is a bit further down that list as well, at 51st place and a 7.66 average starting position. So that's it. Maybe you can put in the comment section down below who you think is the best driver of all time. Don't let statistics sway your opinion. Be honest down there in the comment section down below. It's hard for me because I look at these statistics and Senna doesn't go towards the top as much as I would have actually thought, to be perfectly honest. But then of course there was a sand accident that meant he lost his life way too early. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to put a name out there because I don't even know in my head who I'd say is the best driver of all time. I think Hamilton has got to be up there. I'm not a Hamilton fan, but I'd have to say Hamilton genuinely has to be up there. Schumacher, you'd have to say him. Senna, Prost, obviously Ascari. Yeah. Clark, Moss. I mean, I could just keep going forever. There are too many good drivers. It's hard to put a definitive answer on this one, but I'd like to hear your comments down below on this nonetheless. You know, let me escape this one, get the get out of jail free card, and let you put the comments down below and maybe get into some conversation. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Check out this fundraising trailer if you haven't seen it already. It's been Alex, I'm out here. Goodbye. My name is Alex Baldwin, and I want to know how hard it is to follow your dreams. Since I was a child, I've been a motorsport fan, and this is a passion that has led me all over the world to watch my idols race. But one thing still burns deep, the dream of becoming a race car driver myself. I have tried to accomplish this in the past, but it was to no avail. This documentary is about my journey as I prepare for my first ever motor race. It will let me evaluate my passion for the sport and what stopped me from doing this sooner. There will be many challenges that I will face before I compete for real. My fitness, money to race, and a racing license, to name a few. This is where your support can help. By pledging a small donation, you can help us document the experience of a lifetime. And this will ensure our 3rd year university documentary is a success. You can find the various options on our Kickstarter Choose one that suits you. Your support is hugely appreciated. Thank you for helping, and see you soon.